Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm kind of answering a question that a lot of people have been asking me recently, and that is, which tier 9 reward tank should I buy with my battle pass tokens? So I'm going to try and make this video, I say as quick as possible. I'll go into a little bit of detail, but I'm going to try and make it as compact as possible. However, I am aware that I say that a lot and then end up waffling on all the time about irrelevant crap, and then it ends up being half an hour. But I'm going to try and see if I can not do that this time. So I have actually got some bullet points written down in front of me, so I try not to stray off too much. But yeah, basically, this is a question that I've been getting asked quite a lot on stream by several people. The Battle Pass, I believe, runs out, I think it's the 8th of December. Yeah, 8th of December. And then I think the trilogy of Battle Passes finishes, and then the store with the Battle Pass tanks in gets reset, I believe. And you have the 5 tanks to choose from. You've got the Kunze Panzer, the K91 PT, the AE Phase 1, the Char Futur 4, and the Object 777 version 2. And you have your Battle Pass tokens available to buy them. I think somebody did link a news article to me, but I honestly can't remember 100% because this was a while ago. But if you don't spend your Battle Pass tokens, I do believe they get turned into bonds at the end if you don't spend them. Like, I'm not going to be able to because I haven't got anything else to buy. But basically, I'm going to run through the tanks very quickly, give you a very quick overview on each tank. Then let you know, whilst letting you know which order I would get them in. At the end of the day, this is personal choice. This is entirely your choice. It depends on playstyle, everything like that. I'll come into that in a little bit more detail at the end. But basically, I'll run you through if this was me choosing the tanks and I had none of the tanks, and which order I would personally purchase them in and which order I would recommend purchasing them in. So, my least recommended tank. Now, this doesn't make this tank a bad tank. I'd like to point that out straight away. It does not mean it's a shit tank or anything like that. It's just my least recommended. If you think that this is the tank for you, by all means, go for it. But I have gone for the Object 7772. I've seen this tank played well. It's got really good side armor. You can side scrape. But in my opinion, the gun is just a bit too meh. Like, the DPM's not great. The armor is good. The mobility's not great. It's just player T10, player 257. And there are tech tree tanks that are better than this vehicle. It's by no means a bad tank. I've only played a couple of games in it. I haven't really played a huge amount of games in it. But it's definitely, in my opinion, pick it up last, or as I'll come on to in a bit, pick it up if you're purchasing another 9 token tank and you only have 18 tokens. But I'll come on to that in a bit. But this is my 5th recommended tank. At number 4, we have the K91 PT. Now, this slips a little bit down the list. It's quite a good tank. I kind of enjoy it, but it not having a turret and it being a tank destroyer isn't great. You kind of have to sit at the back and snipe, or you can play more aggressively in it and try and side scrape and stuff like that, but it's not a particularly easy tank to play like that. Its armor is good on the superstructure, really weak on the hull. Side armor is not particularly good. The gun is pretty good. You don't get a lot of ammo in it. It's not amazingly great, but one of the main and one of the biggest problems with this tank, and again, I'll come on to the whole token cost and that in a minute after I've gone through all the tanks, is that this thing costs 12 tokens, which means if you've only got the 18 from this season, you cannot buy another tank. You've literally, I'm picking this one and this one only. So I wouldn't really recommend it just for that reason and that reason alone, but I will come on to that in more detail in the next segment. At number 3, I have the Char Futur 4. Following on kind of from the K91, this thing's only 9 Battle Pass tokens, which is quite nice because it gives you the option of one of the 3 tanks that cost 9. That's the 777, the Phase 1, and the Char, so you can get any 2 of those from one season, which is always nice. Being quite cheap is nice. This personally is one of my favourite tanks out of these 5 tanks. However, it is relatively challenging to play. It's something that I wouldn't recommend picking up as a new player. And yeah, I would say if you're going to pick this thing up, you kind of want to know what you're doing in autoloaders. And also, this is a very unique autoloader. It has 4 seconds between shells, which kind of means you can't play it like any other autoloader. You can't go burst damage because the burst damage isn't that high. You've got to have good map awareness because you've got a 35-second reload, so you can't just sit places and wait to reload. Other than that, the accuracy is amazing. The aim time's really good. Penetration and the gun is really, really nice. It's like the Batchat's gun, but at tier 9, but just with a lot less DPM and a lot less burst damage. Other than that, the tank's actually relatively good. It's really fast, obviously, being a French medium tank. And the armor is not good, but it's not terrible. You can actually bounce shells in this thing because it does have some auto bounce angles. It is a relatively good tank, but I wouldn't recommend picking this thing up if you are relatively new at the game or relatively inexperienced, because it is a relatively high skill cap tank to play. Coming in at number 2, and I really did have to hesitate to put this thing at number 2 for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's not the easiest tank to play, and in my opinion, if you want to play a tank similar, play the Leopard prototype. However, it is relatively rewarding and relatively easy to play because you can play it like a sniper, which makes it quite easy to play and quite easy to play for newbies. However, probably the biggest downside to this thing at the minute, similar to the K91 PT, is that for this season, this thing costs 18 Battle Pass tokens, which means if you've only got tokens from this one season, you cannot afford any other tanks. It's this one and no others. Like I said, when it comes to the AE, the Char, and the 777, you can pick 2 out of the 3 by only having played one Battle Pass season. Whereas this thing, you can literally only get this tank by itself. However, having said that, if the tokens aren't the issue, this thing's pretty good. You can kind of play it in sniper mode, where you get good accuracy, good aim time, good gun handling, but your DPM goes down and you're not as mobile. Or you can play it in kind of like, I don't really know what you'd call it, maybe a brawling mode? I'm not really sure what they called it. I can't remember what the official travel mode, siege mode. Yeah, I want to say travel mode. Whatever. You're pretty quick. You've got really good, really nice DPM. And it's overall a genuinely quite nice tank to play, quite a fun tank to play, and it's got a little bit of a challenge with knowing which mode to switch to. The only things I would say, downsides, is the Leopard PTA is probably just better than it, but you can use this as a crew trainer, which is always nice. And also, like I said, it is those 18 Battle Pass tokens that are a bit of a bitch, to be honest, but there you go. Anyway, moving on to my number 1 recommended tank. So, no surprise at this point, as we've already gone through 4 tanks, and there are only 5, but my number 1 most recommended tank is the AE Phase 1, for 2 main reasons. Number 1, it is probably the easiest tank of all of the tanks so far that I've said to play. It is just a great all-round tank. It's a great all-round tier 9 heavy, good gun depression, decent armor, good frontal turret armor, small weak spot on top, gun, really, really decent, like, good pen, standard alpha, decent DPM, good accuracy, good aim time. Like, it's just overall a good tank. It's kind of like the M103, the Conqueror, all of those tanks, but it's just a better M103 pretty much, I think. So it is a really nice tank, and you get the added bonus, same as the other 2 that I've mentioned previous, that this thing is 9 Battle Pass tokens. So if you haven't got any tanks at all, I would recommend this thing first, and then you also get the bonus of being able to choose either the Char or the 777 as well. So, like I said, those are my 5 tanks in the order that I would recommend them. However, there are a couple of buts when it comes to that. Obviously, you may be choosing between 2 tanks, 3 tanks. You may be choosing between all 5. Obviously, some of these have been available for a lot longer than others, like the AE and everything like that. So there are a couple of well, you should be cautious of. Number one, I've touched on it quite a bit already, but the price of the tanks in the tokens. I would recommend, if you've got a choice between like the Char, the 777, and the K91 PT, get the Char and the 777. Don't worry too much about the PT, because at the end of the day, 2 tanks better than 1 tank. Like, you get 2 tanks for the price of 1. Yes, you'd get a couple of bonds as well when getting the K91, but I would definitely take the 2 tanks, the 777 and the Char. Same if you've got if you're choosing between like the AE Phase 1, the K91 PT, and the Char or the 777. 2 tanks is better than the price of 1, because 9, 9, 9, 12, and 18. So yeah, and that's why I hesitate with the Kunze Panzer. I put it second on the list because it's one of the newest tanks as well, so I think the least people have it, other than maybe the K91. But it is 18 tokens, so you can only get that 1 tank unless you've got previous tokens saved up from previous Battle Pass seasons. Other than that, as I've said several times, it is personal choice. Your mileage may vary in all tanks. You may absolutely hate the fact that this thing's an all-rounder, and you absolutely love tank destroyers, in which case, get the K91 PT. You may love a good side scraper, in which case, get the 7.7. You may be really into your autoloaders, in which case, get the Char Futur. It is, at the end of the day, entirely up to you. I'm just some scrub on the internet, trying to give you advice in the best way possible. Like I said, everybody's playstyle is different. Everybody plays tanks differently. But that is what I would recommend. And like I said, I'm going to kind of use this because the Battle Pass ends soon. And I've had, within the last couple of weeks, 2 or 3 people ask me the question. So I'm going to probably, I'll end up answering it on stream anyway. But I will direct them towards this video. Anyway, that was hopefully a relatively quick video today, guys. Apologies for no gameplay, but obviously there will be some gameplay in the next video. If you are new to the channel and you have enjoyed this video, or at least found it informative in any way, shape or form, please give the video a like. Make sure that you subscribe and click the notification button so you know when I release a video. Other than that, thank you all so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.